guys have got the hardship gig up here, haven't you? It's what a stunning environment on such a beautiful day. But I've got a feeling it's, for those that live in Sydney, it's one of our last before the temperature plunges. I'm a little bit daunted and humbled to be speaking here today because I noted from the attendee list that you're all very senior people with a lot of smarts around customer experience. And refreshingly for me, you come from a diverse range of industries. So I think I should be sitting down there and you should be teaching me a bit about customer experience. But what I am going to tell you a bit of our story, and it is very much, we are a bank or a authorised deposit-taking institution. Our story and how we have built customer loyalty, but because we are a profit-making enterprise, how we have transformed that loyalty into royalty. So I'm going to tell you our story on how we've done it, but I'm confident that the foundations will have universal appeal regardless of the industry in which you operate. So I warned you I'm a banker, so I love equations, and this is what I call the loyalty equation. I think it's really important that when you talk about loyalty, you need to debunk straight away the fact that loyalty is not a person, it's not a program. You hear about loyalty programs. It's not an initiative. It's actually, in my words, it's a finely balanced equation, and it's something, we'll need to find a collective noun for it, that is integrated, immersive, throughout the entire organisation. So when I talk about loyalty, I talk about something that is holistic and that it is within and amongst the entire value chain of the organisation, regardless of the industry that you're in. Something about loyalty that I firmly believe, particularly when you're trying to commercialise it, is that you have to give to get. So there is a compromise inherent in a loyalty equation. We think we have the equation right, but the sands and the environment continually change. We didn't start off that way. We've banked a lot of learnings on the way. But one of our factors, or one of the external indicators that we're doing something right, is our Net Promoter Score. So we have a very high, or the highest Net Promoter Score of any financial institute in Australia, and we've held that consistently for 3 years, and in our core strategic segment, and I'll get to why it's very important to have focus around what you're going after, we have a Net Promoter Score in the mid-50s, which is unheard of for a bank. So we'll start at the right-hand side. How do you know if you've got it? And it goes, as you all know, it's not just great customer sat scores, it's not even NPS, but that's one of the indicators. Advocacy, we've just talked about it. Tenure. So as a banker, we love stickiness. I'm sure you all love stickiness. You want, once you've invested in getting a customer on board, you want them to hang around. So the longer a customer, particularly a mortgage customer's on our book, that's, you know, they reach that 3-year profit making corner, and beyond there, it's a very, very healthy investment for us. Loyal customers give us greater cross-buy, so, or cross-sell, without a doubt. The metrics in our industry are incredibly powerful on that basis. And something else, and when I'm talking in the context of commercialising loyalty, and I don't want to be crude as a banker, but reduced price sensitivity. I know myself, I love many organisations way beyond financial services. It's not that I don't care about what they charge, but if I feel I'm getting value and they're giving me loyalty and I'm giving it back to them, within reasonable bounds, they can play around with the price. So what that means to those in commercial professional enterprise is that you don't always have to be on that slippery slope of being the cheapest in the market, because that, as we know, is a slippery slope to liquidation potentially. So they're the attributes, and I'm sure you all have similar metrics in your own business that are indicators of success. So what we're here today to talk about is what are these ingredients that will give us those attributes. Here we are. Okay, so I may sound a little bit simplistic, but it does start with the strategy. You have to be absolutely laser focused about what your strategy is in your organisation, because your loyalty mix will be profoundly shaped by what your strategy is. So you've got to, if you know what you're going to achieve, then naturally it follows that you'll get a very good indication of what type of customers are going to help you achieve that strategy. Because I don't know about your industry, but in ours, you can't be all things to all customers. You have to make choices. And clearly, if you can't be all things to all customers, then you can't elicit loyalty from your entire population. You have to really know who your silver bullet customers are and have to nuance and shape your proposition to appeal to that. With ING Direct, it's very simple. Our strategy is to be a customer's primary bank. Primary bank means to have a transaction account, at least another product, and a regular contribution into that transaction account. We say salary, but we'll take at a minimum of $1,000 a month. So there's a concept there of 2+ products plus a regular contribution. So it's very, very simple. Now, I must emphasise that's not to say that if you don't fulfil those criteria that we ignore you and we disenfranchise you. We don't. We have I think it's 1.75 million customers now, and unfortunately they're not all primary bank customers, but we're working on it. So we approach our customer base on the premise of a good deal, a fair deal for all, but an exceptional deal for that core strategic segment, which is the primary bank. So it's not just a matter of formulating your strategy, which we did, but it also then triggered what I call some nuanced surgery in our proposition. And this is where, as I said earlier, it wasn't always that way. We've had to make some changes to the way we position ourselves, our proposition in the market. And I think the main two changes that we made in the last 18 months, 2 years, which has really seen those metrics I showed you at the outset go off the scale, was we went very much from a value per product per customer base approach more to a valuing connectedness. So we would value, and I'll show you how, a customer who was connected across the product range with us. And we shifted from upweighting onboarding or new business customers to rewarding existing customers. Again, these are subtle. It's not either or polarising that we said, oh, well, if you're a new customer now, we don't care. Of course, we have to build the balance sheet and feed the P&L. We have to keep getting new customers, and we have to continuously ensure we're attractive to new customers, but not at the expense of existing customers. And we've made some changes there to reward, to really cement their loyalty in. So we know what our strategy is, and we know we want primary bank customers. So what do we do? What do we do next? How well do we know these customers that we want and that we want to get more of? So all customers, when they engage with an organisation, any organisation, do so on the basis of rational and emotional attributes. Now, these are actually our customers, and the pie chart is showing their thoughts and feelings, so rational and emotional feelings when they engage with us. Now, who cares? So you might be thinking, why is this important to us? Why it's important is that it enables us to combat the negative, the things that aren't important to them, but to really highlight and leverage and capitalise on the positive. Surprisingly, I think for a bank, you can see that the high majority of the the attributes of a customer engaging with us are emotional. So some may be surprised of that, that their motivations in dealing with us are emotional. They're not rational. They're not about facts and figures and transactions. And just unpeeling that, why we think this is the case is that we are a challenger brand, a challenger bank in a very concentrated market. So the primary attribute there is pride to be part of the ING Direct family, so to speak. And we think that what's at the root of that is that because we're a little bit different, we're irreverent, and hence that has a resonance with the Australian psyche of that Ned Kelly, whatever, irreverence. So we know that, and we really try to play up on that, and I'll show you a little bit of our marketing and how we capitalise on that attribute that customers have tried to, have said that relates to us. But there's more. So beyond the attribute that attracts, the attributes that attract customers to us, how well do we know that customer in terms of the touch point of their journey with us? So not everything is equal, again, so not all customers are equal. Not everything they do with you is equal. Some things are more important than others. Some attributes of our service are more, of more importance, hold more weight with customers. So you can see what we've done, and this is actual. I've plotted the importance and frequency axes show the things we do on a regular basis with customers and their relative importance with us. One thing I will say, so these are moments of truth. Some of them are more truth than others, but massive. If you get this wrong, you will have massive sways in customer sentiment. This is probably, if you can do nothing else in your organisation, really get this right. Get really forensic on knowing what these things are. So, not surprisingly, although I was a little bit surprised at the polarisation in the hierarchy here, that use my money, we're a bank, is most important and most frequent. So initial contact, so onboarding, joining the enterprise is important, but less frequent. We don't have people, the same customer joining us over and over again. So what this does to us is that this is a filter we put over all of our energies and our investment in the organisation. So we know that these two things are polarising in the weight of their importance. So we make sure that when we're divvying up the investment pool within the organisation for projects, initiative, innovation incubations, etc., these things are going to intrinsically get they are ahead at the starting line for distribution. The other end of the spectrum is if something goes wrong in the organisation, so if there's any issue with using your mobile for transactions, the whole organisation comes to a stop to fix it, because we know that this is the most important thing customers value in dealing with us. So you need to understand for your own organisation what's really important, what's really important and what's most frequent, because it has an enormous leverage in a customer's mind. So I mentioned at the outset something we had to, the fact that we had to reorientate our approach, and you know, we've all got product sets, we have services, etc. give you a little bit of a practical insight as to how we changed our proposition to more fully support our strategy. And I said earlier that we went from product centricity to customer centricity. And you know, our strategy is to be a primary bank or a main financial institution for customers. So what we used to do is we used to have savings maximizer. Most of you probably have one of those in Australia. We created that market here. And we used to reward new customers with a high rate, which over time, it would drop. So we call them in the market welcome rate, and all of the competitors in the market copied this, what we call this welcome rate construct. So very, very high, unsustainably high interest rate offered up front, and then it would drop down to what we say is a very fair rate, but certainly significant less. So what we were doing, going back to my new and existing customers, is that existing customers were really paying for new customers to come in. So we thought, one, it certainly undermines our concept of equity with customers. We want to reorient our proposition to go from new to existing, or to balance that out, share the love between those two customer cohorts. So what we also, and then overarching, we knew what our strategy was to be primary bank. So we created our new strategic customer category called primary bank customer. And what that means is that if you come to us and come to us as a primary bank customer, or if you've come to us as a single product customer and become a primary bank customer, you will get a higher rate of interest, not time-boxed, on your savings with us because you're a primary bank customer. Now, the fact is that most Australian, well, every Australian banking customer has a transaction account somewhere. We're saying if you bring it to us, and you can have the other products as well, one other product, and you tick that magic primary bank customer, you will be rewarded for joining that primary bank segment. And the difference, and then you also become entitled to our loyalty back to you. So it's not just that higher rate of interest, free ATMs, and a number of other benefits across our entire product range that you earn when you become a primary bank customer. So that's the changes in the acquisition rates, and I'll show you a chart at the end, were something tectonic when we made that change. But it doesn't end there. So we need to, I talked about immersiveness within an organisation. So strategy, customer cohort, product offering. Next, of course, is communication. So how do you, if you have the raw ingredients to create loyalty from your customer, and you're giving it back in the form of attractive financial benefits, how do we sustain that loyalty? So how do we ensure that customers don't get distracted by the next shiny thing in the marketplace and cease their primary bank status with us? So what we do is we, across a number of communication channels, communicate that value, the commercialisation of that loyalty a primary bank customer has with us. So we do it reactively, proactively, and repetitively. And I could just call it surprise, delight, repeat. Surprise, delight, repeat. So these are actual screenshots taken from some of our digital assets, and they show the actual benefits that the customers earn on a monthly and an aggregated per annum basis on being part of that primary bank cohort. And we also very, well, subtly or not so subtly, I'm very transparent about it, we use communication mediums to actually subliminally keep pushing the message out that that's our strategy. So because you've deposited $1,000 into your account, you so carrot, stick, carrot. We're telling our customers in our communication that these are the levers that garner loyalty. So it's a very, 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 very simple. It's subliminal, but it's that messaging all the time. You know, if I do this, I get this. If I do this, I get this. It's visual. It's across all of our channels. And I should also say that these communications are opened at twice the rate of all of our other communications. So people, if they're looking at something that they've earned, something that they may see as for nothing because I'm going to have a banking relationship with someone, they're very interested to know, to keep score on how their easy investment is going with ING Direct. And then, of course, the next step is to go from what I call self-sustaining to self-sustaining. So how do we engage our 1.75 million customers to be part of our marketing force? These are, again, actual screenshots of some of our customers who publicly Facebook their statements across their enormous networks that they have, potentially many of them non-customers. So we make it they're very simple communications, they're very visual, we use lots of graphics, enabling our customers who are very happy with us to spread the word. So there is a tipping point in marketing where advocacy becomes viral, and we induct our customers, our happy customers, to be part of our marketing force for us. A little bit more of a nuance on communication. I'll spend a little bit of time on this because it's extremely important, is that timing is very important as well. So it's not, you know, I did say about leveraging all your digital assets, but it isn't a spray and pray. It's really important to show the value that, or your loyalty to your customer base when they're engaged with you, when they come to you. So you're not shoving stuff down their consciousness. So what we do is we make it very easy to identify and locate on the digital asset the source of truth or the information about their reward. They're coming to us, so they're generally happy, they're wanting, they're engaged with us. So we use that opportunity to show them where and how much that reward is. Now, significantly too, this is not just a communication medium. These platforms are perfect springboards for leveraging our data analytical and propensity modelling, which I'll talk a little bit about. Because these are platforms, these are our shop fronts. We don't have branches in Australia. We do overseas, another story. But we use these assets to not only as communication channels, but underneath this is what we have, you know, our analytical engines, and we use the shop front to be able to cross-buy and cross-sell. So I mentioned before about the communicating the, oh, did I flick? No, I didn't. Okay, yeah, so propensity modelling. You can see I've circled the My Offers there. And it's not just a button that someone may or may not go into. Underneath, this is accompanied also by real-time alerts and notifications to customers. But underneath the digital assets I mentioned, we have the analytical machine. So we use, and this is important in the context of a loyalty-royalty discussion, particularly royalty. So every customer and their interaction with us is being considered for what I call intelligent, relevant and respectful targeting. And our analytics tools are fed by, you know, propensity modelling that we have, proprietary propensity modelling we have in-house. Our knowledge of the customer, we know a lot about them, the products they have, their transaction history with us, as well as relevant external data. So, for example, you might have a mortgage with us, you borrowed $80,000 to buy a $100,000 unit, for example. You know, we get daily feeds of property value prices from the likes of CoreLogic, etc. We know how much that value, the value of that home is worth, and hence the value of the equity that customer has in their home. If we know, for example, that the owner of this home is a 48-year-old male on the leafy North Shores of Sydney, and they have equity of 90% in their home, we know by the age, the demographic, the equity, and that they're probably in the market for superannuation, and so we will use that. That's a very crude but a simple example of how we use, and if we see that this customer has also digitally, through his digital footprints, has been meandering into our superannuation product, that's another, you know, sort of showing us some potential interest in that product. That's when all of those machines will be able to craft a next best offer for that person. The more common example where we use this is that, and this is where the my offer could be, I could be someone who haven't been reading my emails about the fact that I'm depositing $850 a month into my transaction account. I'm getting interest on my savings maximizer account, but if I put in another $150 a month, I'd be entitled to that high rate of interest, free ATMs, cashback rebates on my transaction account, card, blah, 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 blah. We will use that to tap that person on the shoulder through the My Offers and tell them that by becoming a primary bank customer, they will be able to leverage more value from us. And we've now, I explained it briefly before, we have now turned on this machine underneath. We've always had analytical propensity modelling and analytics, but now we have the ability to do it real time. So we can bring all of those attributes of the customer, behavioural characteristics of their transactions, their internal holdings with us, their external data that's relevant to their products, such as property price, etc., into the one knowledge centre, and it will and configure the analytic tool to provide the next best offer to that customer, which is invariably will deepen their primary bank status, or they will become a primary bank customer. So, you know, essentially, this what we're in a position to do now is get the right message to the right customer, right time, real time, in the right way, with the right offer. So it's very, very powerful to be able to do that. Advertising. So we've talked to marketing, distribution, analytics, communication. I said it's everything. So advertising. How do we leverage advocacy and build loyalty by advertising? Advertising, particularly in financial services, has traditionally been what I call a push play. So very much around, I have a product, I'm going to tell you about it, here it is. True, we continue to use advertising in the traditional way to inform, but we've really seen some benefits in, rather than push, pulling information from the customer base. So we have rerun marketing campaigns where we, on an open website, a microsite, when customers come to our digital assets, we'll say, give us your feedback about ING Direct. And the trick is it's open. So what I say can be viewed by anyone, and you can be anonymous or non-anonymous, etc. And it's the good, bad, the ugly, the brilliant, and everything. It's all there for everyone to see. And we're brave enough to be able to do that. Fortunately, our rating on the feedback was high. It wasn't perfect by any means, but we use, of course, the more negative sentiments to reshape our proposition. And so we run this quite regularly, where we're saying, come in and tell us what you think about us. And customers like that, because they think, God, you know, I'm with an organisation that's really keen to continuously improve and is not hiding any negative sentiment away, that it's out there. And what we actually found is that when every now and then if a customer did say something negative, you get all these other customers coming in saying, no, that's not true, they're this and that. So again, it was it became an advocacy platform in itself. Friction. Process, so a little bit boring, but I did talk about the immersive nature of building loyalty. It doesn't matter how wonderful your experience is, and you can get all these tailwinds, if you like, brilliantly aligned and working, if you have friction in any of your process. And I know that sounds obvious, but everything has to be easy. So we make very significant investments in digital to ensure that not only the attractiveness of the products and to ensure that you can get them by all digital means, but also ensuring that behind the shop front, the back-end processes, whether it's operations, IT, risk, etc., are running as smoothly, given we have to manage multiple stakeholders, as possible. So you really do need to, if you're customer experience people, you will inevitably find you'll occasionally get headwinds from process issues. They have a very strong sway in undermining all the good work you might be doing in the front end of the organisation. So for us, in a practical sense, you can open your transaction account on the mobile, you tick a box and you get the two products. We're very much into one and done, ask me once, bundling products, filling in what I call a universal application form. Not quite universal, but we're building that way, uploading digital, etc., etc. So we're trying to eliminate process where we can. So very important. And in Italy, you can open a mortgage on your mobile. So all of these complex products that people thought could never be without friction can be done. Probably the most important thing, what drives all of these initiatives is culture. So I've talked about the building blocks of loyalty, but the glue or the cement that holds all of this together is having the right organisational culture. And that is actually more pernicious. That if you've got a bad culture, it doesn't matter if you have all of these perfect building blocks, enormous investment, you're really going to be behind the 8 ball. And just what are the building blocks of a culture that will best position you to build loyalty? Firstly, it's got to be experience has to be everyone's responsibility. From finance, risk, IT, distribution, product, all the traditional silos in banks I've mentioned, everyone has to have a customer centricity, advocacy, satisfaction, whatever you want to call it, effort, customer effort, KPI, everyone. But most importantly, the CEO. So that person has to walk and talk customer experience, customer centricity, and in so doing, it more naturally cascades throughout the organisation. But what doesn't get measured doesn't get done. Equally, it's not just talking about it and thinking it. You've got to have those KPIs. So everyone has to have appropriately weighted and crafted KPIs in the context of the particular function that you're fulfilling, and you get remunerated on them, badly or well. You've got to have the tools and processes to harvest and harness customer experience feedback. So there are a variety of tools you can use, but we have a encyclopedia of them so that we're constantly in real time able to actually look into the fishbowl of customer sentiment and see how we are going, how new initiatives are going, how we're managing things that have stuffed up, because they do from time to time. So you need to have systems that give you real-time feedback. Competition, look outside the window. In banking, a lot of bankers think people come to banks with a bank lens on. Well, we all know they don't. People come to any organisation, often they don't know the name of the organisation. They think very much in terms of life cycle. You know, they come to us when they need a mortgage to buy a home. Most can't spell the word mortgage, and I don't blame them. So you need to be aware that they come with an open lens. They've just got off the Amazon site or Google, Apple. They expect us to be just the same. So be aware what is best practice in customer experience across the universe, and try to meet it in your own industry. And finally, I said I promised you I'd show you some. As a banker, I've got to end on some numbers, but how have these efforts, this journey that we've been on, this reorientation of our strategy and proposition, how has it manifested itself in terms of commercialisation? So I talk about loyalty into royalty. So what's in it for the shareholder? So now I speak with my shareholder hat on. So you can see that cross-buy rates they've gone up 45%. So that share of wallet, more product per customer is really starting to climb. And we're building more products, so that will be another healthy tailwind for us. NPS trends on competitors, substantially ahead. I don't say this with any complacency, but we're pulling away. Our lead is pulling further and further away. Acquisition, it's up in our core strategic segment, so primary bank, 400% from over the last couple of years. And the marketers in the room will love this. Our cost to acquire per account has gone down to 25% of what it was historically. So again, it's that advocacy, it's that inducting your customers as part of your marketing army to be able to spread the word about your value proposition. Over the longer term, I can't give you the data yet, it's too embryonic. What we would like to and what we expect to see is longer tenure, so customers hanging around for longer, not only more product, staying with us for longer, and less price sensitivity. So I'm not about to go out and change our rates to make us most expensive. We'll always provide a great value proposition. That's part of our DNA. That's a promise we make to Australian banking customers. But we can't always be the cheapest in the market or the highest payer in the market. So that's what we look forward to in the future, but most of all, continually to serve and help customers get ahead, which is our purpose. Thank you.